Welcome to Mind Clarity, a space where real transformation begins from within, not by changing the world around you, but by awakening the power inside you. If you're ready to stop feeling stuck, break free from fear, and step into a life of peace, purpose, and self-understanding, then you're exactly where you need to be. Consider becoming a member of Mind Clarity, where we go deeper into these ideas and help you truly apply them in your daily life. Let's begin this journey of inner change together. What if the life you're waiting for doesn't begin when others change, but the moment you do? What if everything you've been chasing, peace, love, acceptance, has been quietly waiting inside you all along? We spend so much time blaming the world, the past, and other people, without realizing the real power has always been within us. This isn't just about change. It's about awakening to who you truly are. And once you see it, nothing in your life can ever remain the same. Let's talk about change. Real change. Not the kind where we sit around hoping other people will finally become who we want them to be, but the kind that actually transforms our own life. Because if we're honest, most of us don't really want to change ourselves. We want others to behave differently so we can feel better. But the truth is, nothing truly shifts until it begins within us. Any meaningful transformation has to come from the inside. It's not optional, it's the only way it works. Real change means moving out of that heavy place of feeling disconnected, alone, angry, afraid, or hurt. It's about stepping into a completely different inner state, one that feels calm, grounded, and peaceful. A place where you can finally relax and trust life again. When you reach that space, something powerful happens. You begin to feel that life is actually on your side. You stop fighting every moment and instead start allowing things to unfold. There's a quiet confidence that grows inside you, a knowing that everything is going to work out. And when you truly accept that, the direction your life takes doesn't scare you anymore. You trust that wherever you're going, something good is waiting for you. I like to live with the belief that life is working in my favor, that everything in my world has a purpose, and that I'm always being guided towards something better. When you adopt that mindset, you become more open. You enjoy things more. You stop resisting so much, and life starts to feel lighter. There's a simple but powerful idea that explains this shift. Love is the absence of fear. At any given moment, you're either operating from love or from fear. There isn't really an in-between. If you're not coming from a place of openness, compassion, and trust, then you're likely being driven by fear. And fear shows up in many forms: loneliness, anger, separation, insecurity, pain. They're all connected. So the real goal of change is this: to move out of fear and into love. Not just occasionally, but as a consistent way of being. It's about training yourself to return to that space again and again until it becomes natural for you. And if you look around, you'll notice that this isn't just happening on a personal level. The entire world seems to be going through a period of transition. Everything feels like it's shifting, like we're moving from one way of living into something new. Some people describe this as a change in ages or eras, but regardless of how you label it, the feeling is the same. Things are evolving. In the past, people were taught to look outside themselves for answers. They depended on others to fix things, to guide them, or to save them. But now there's a growing awareness that the real power has always been within. More and more people are starting to turn inward, discovering that they are capable of changing their own lives. And yes, that realization can feel uncomfortable at first. It can even be a little scary, because once you understand that the power is within you, it also means responsibility is within you. But at the same time, it's incredibly freeing. It means you're no longer stuck waiting for something or someone else to change. You begin to see that everything you've been searching for has been inside you all along. And once you truly accept that, your entire experience of life begins to shift in the most beautiful way. What we often call responsibility can feel heavy at first, almost like pressure. But when you really understand it, it's not about burden at all. It's about discovering your ability to respond to life in a new way. Instead of reacting like a victim, you begin to respond with awareness and strength. And in that shift, you reclaim your power. You start to feel connected to something deeper within you. Some people call it a higher power. Others call it the higher self. But whatever name you give it, it's that inner guidance that reminds you that you're not helpless. You begin to realize that you don't need to depend on someone else to fix your life. There is something inside you that is capable, strong, and ready to create change. When you live from a victim mindset, everything feels heavy. You feel alone, afraid, and stuck, always waiting for someone else to come along and make things better. But when you take ownership of your life, everything shifts. You begin to understand that you are part of every experience you have, and because of that, you also have the ability to change those experiences if they no longer serve you. Now, the moment you decide to change something in your life, there's always a period in between. It's that space between where you were and where you want to be. This transition is where most people struggle. It's where old beliefs start to loosen and new ones are still forming. You're letting go of habits that once felt normal while trying to adopt new ways of thinking and living. During this time, it's completely natural to go back and forth. One day, you feel strong and aligned with your new mindset, and the next day, you slip back into old patterns. You might catch yourself thinking the same old thoughts or reacting in familiar ways. And often, this is when people get frustrated with themselves. They think, I already know better. Why am I still doing this? And they begin to judge themselves harshly. But that kind of thinking only slows you down. Learning anything new takes time. Change is not instant. It's a process. That back and forth movement doesn't mean you've failed. It simply means you're in the middle of growth. You haven't gone backward. You're just not fully settled into the new yet. For example, you might start using affirmations and feel really good about them. Then something unexpected happens, and suddenly you fall back into worry or doubt. That doesn't erase your progress. It just shows that the new belief hasn't fully taken root yet. With time, practice, and consistency, it will. This is why patience is so important. You have to be gentle with yourself during this phase. Instead of tearing yourself down, you need to build yourself up. Think about it. Are your thoughts supporting you, or are they attacking you? When you criticize yourself, you're not acting from love. And real change can only grow in an environment of self-support and understanding. Sometimes the changes we need to make aren't even big, dramatic ones. Often, it's about small shifts in how we think. A slight adjustment in perspective can completely change how we experience a situation. For instance, if someone is worried about not having enough money, instead of repeating that fear, they can begin to affirm that there is more than enough. It may seem like a small change in words, but it creates a powerful shift in mindset. Or take something like physical discomfort. The words we use to describe our experience can shape how we feel it. Instead of labeling something as intense pain, you might choose to describe it differently, in a way that feels less overwhelming. That small mental shift can actually help you handle the situation better and even support the healing process. When you begin to change your thinking, even in small ways, you start moving from the old version of yourself into a new one. And this isn't just happening on a personal level, it's something we're seeing on a larger scale too. There's a sense that the world itself is going through a transformation. It's not necessarily that things are worse than before, but we're more aware now. We're seeing more, noticing more, and bringing things to the surface that may have been hidden for a long time. It can feel overwhelming, like there's more negativity around us, but in many ways, it's just becoming more visible. And if you want to truly grow and change, you have to be willing to do the same thing within yourself. You have to look honestly at your own thoughts, beliefs, and patterns. You can't clear out what you refuse to see. Just like cleaning a house, You have to notice where the mess is before you can fix it. This means being willing to face uncomfortable truths, to recognize what no longer serves you, and to make conscious choices about what you want to keep and what you're ready to release. It's not always easy, but it's necessary if you want real transformation. As we go through this larger transition, both individually and collectively, things that have been hidden will continue to come to light. And while that might feel intense at times, it's actually part of the healing process. At the core of all of this is a simple desire: to create a world where it feels safe to love. A world where we can accept each other as we are, without fear or judgment. Because deep down, that's what we've always wanted. Even as children, all we really wanted was to feel loved, accepted, and safe being ourselves. And that truth hasn't changed. All of us, at our core, have always wanted the same thing: to be loved just as we are. Even as children, no matter how we looked, how we behaved, or how we compared to others, we simply wanted to feel accepted. Maybe we felt too thin or too big, not smart enough, or different in some way. Maybe we were afraid, but none of that changed the desire to be loved. And that desire hasn't gone away. It's still within us today. The truth is, we won't fully receive that kind of love from others until we learn how to give it to ourselves first. When you genuinely feel worthy of love, when you accept yourself as enough, people around you begin to reflect that back to you. It's not complicated. It really works that way. I believe we are here to learn what unconditional love truly means. Not the easy version of love, but the kind that remains steady no matter what. And the first place to practice that is within yourself. Regardless of what happened in the past, regardless of what anyone said or did, you can choose to love yourself now. And from that place, you can extend the same acceptance to others, allowing them to be who they are without judgment. There's no separation between us and them. It's all connected. If we want to heal the world, we have to understand that no group of people is less valuable or disposable. Yes, some people act in harmful ways, but often that behavior comes from deep pain or unresolved trauma. Understanding that doesn't excuse harmful actions, but it does help us see the root of the problem. If we truly want change, we can't keep responding with more anger, punishment, or division. You don't create peace through violence or hatred. Real change comes when people learn to love themselves. Because when someone truly values themselves, they won't harm others. A person who is at peace within doesn't need to create pain outside. To me, that's where real harmony begins. A world where people understand their worth, where they feel safe to love and be loved. That's the vision. To help as many people as possible reconnect with themselves, to remember that they are enough. Because from that place, everything else begins to shift. At the end of it all, when we leave this world, we don't take our possessions, our titles, or even our relationships with us. What remains is our ability to love. That's the only thing that truly stays with us. And throughout our lives, we are constantly given opportunities to open our hearts more deeply. Love is powerful. It heals, it connects, and it transforms. So the real question becomes, how are you expressing love in your daily life? What are you doing to create peace within yourself? Are you nurturing your inner world, or are you constantly focusing on what's missing? Blaming others, being angry, or staying stuck in a victim mindset won't change anything. The shift begins when you ask yourself, where can I bring more love into my life, even in a small way? Is there one situation where you can choose compassion instead of judgment? One moment where you can choose peace instead of reaction? And if you're not there yet, that's okay. The real question is, are you willing to begin? Do you truly want to change, or do you want to stay in the same patterns while wishing things were different? Because if you are willing to change, then it is absolutely possible. But it starts with your thoughts. Changing your thinking changes your life. No one else can do that for you. No one has the power to fix your life except you. Others can guide you, support you, or inspire you. But you are the one who decides what to do with that guidance. You are the one thinking your thoughts. You are the one shaping your reality. We often believe we're powerless, but that's not true. You have a mind, and your mind is incredibly powerful. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every attitude you carry, it all contributes to the life you're creating, moment by moment. And your presence in this world matters. Even if you feel like you're not doing anything extraordinary, just being here has value. Your life has meaning, and you can contribute to peace in ways you may not even realize. Some people take action in visible ways, through activism, service, or helping others directly. And that's wonderful. But you can also contribute to the world simply through the way you think. Your inner state matters more than you think.
Every time you think, you're connecting with others who share similar thoughts. Imagine that for a moment. Your mindset is not isolated. It's part of a larger collective. So when you choose peace within yourself, you're adding to that same energy in the world. Many people believe that conflict and struggle are unavoidable, that they will always exist. But those beliefs actually help keep them alive. What if instead we chose to believe that peace is possible, that we deserve it? Peace begins within. It starts in your own mind, in your own heart. Then it expands into your relationships, your environment, and eventually outward into the world. It spreads just like anything else. When you commit to inner peace, you begin to attract and connect with others who are on the same path. And slowly, that energy grows. It reaches farther than you can see.
On a deeper level, we are all connected. There is a shared awareness, a shared spirit that links all of us together. And as more people awaken to that connection, the experience of life itself begins to change. There is something truly beautiful about this shift, a deeper sense of unity, a wider awareness, a more compassionate way of living. And the more we open ourselves to it, the more we realize that love has always been the answer. When you really sit with this idea, it starts to go deeper than just think positive or love yourself. It becomes a way of seeing life entirely differently. You begin to notice that most of your suffering doesn't actually come from what's happening around you, but from how you're interpreting it inside your mind. Two people can go through the same situation, and one feels broken while the other grows stronger. The difference is not the event, it's the inner response. That's why this shift from fear to love is so important. Fear contracts you. It makes you defensive, reactive, and closed off. It keeps you stuck in patterns where you either blame others or blame yourself. Love, on the other hand, expands you. It allows you to pause, to understand, to respond instead of react. And that's where real freedom begins. What most people don't realize is that self-love isn't just a feeling, it's a practice. It shows up in the way you talk to yourself when things go wrong. It shows up in whether you forgive yourself or punish yourself. It shows up in the standards you set for what you will accept in your life. If your inner voice is constantly critical, impatient, or harsh, then no matter how much love comes from outside, it won't feel real or lasting. You'll always doubt it. But when you begin to change that inner dialogue, even slightly, everything starts to shift. You don't need to become perfect overnight. Even catching one negative thought and softening it is progress. Even choosing to be a little more patient with yourself is progress. These small internal adjustments slowly build a completely different foundation. And this is where people often underestimate the power of consistency. It's not about one big breakthrough moment. It's about what you repeatedly choose. The thoughts you practice daily become the beliefs you live by. And those beliefs shape your reality in ways that feel almost invisible at first, but very real over time. Another important part of this is awareness. You can't change what you don't notice.
Many of the beliefs that control your life are running automatically in the background. They were formed years ago, often in childhood, and you've been repeating them without questioning them. When you start observing your thoughts without judgment, you begin to see patterns. You begin to understand why you react the way you do. And once you see it clearly, you're no longer completely controlled by it. This is also where compassion becomes essential. When you look at your own patterns, or even the behavior of others, through a lens of understanding instead of judgment, something softens. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" or "What's wrong with them?" And you start asking, "What created this?" That question opens the door to healing. And the same applies to the world around you. When you see conflict, division, or negativity, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or hopeless. But if you understand that much of it comes from pain, fear, and disconnection, it changes how you respond. Instead of adding more anger to the situation, you begin to hold a different kind of energy, one that is calmer, clearer, and more grounded. That doesn't mean you ignore problems or accept harmful behavior. It means you respond from a place that is not driven by fear. Because reacting from fear only creates more of the same cycle. But responding from awareness and inner stability has the potential to break that cycle. And this is how personal change connects to collective change. It might seem small, just working on your own thoughts and emotions, but it's not small at all. Every shift within you affects how you show up in your relationships, your environment, and even in subtle ways you may not notice. Energy spreads through interaction, through communication, through presence. So when you choose peace within yourself, you're not just doing it for you. You're contributing to a larger shift. And when enough people begin to make that choice, it creates a ripple effect that reaches far beyond individual lives. At the same time, it's important to stay grounded in reality. This path is not about becoming someone who is always calm, always perfect, or never affected by anything. You will still have moments of doubt, frustration, or fear. The difference is that you don't stay there as long. You become more aware of it, and you return to balance more quickly. Over time, that return becomes easier. The space between reaction and awareness gets shorter, and eventually you begin to live more consistently from that place of love, not because you're forcing it, but because it becomes natural. And maybe that's the real transformation, not becoming someone new, but remembering who you were before all the fear, conditioning, and doubt took over. A version of you that already knows how to love, how to trust, and how to feel connected. When you reconnect with that, even in small moments, life starts to feel different. Not perfect, but lighter. Not without challenges, but more meaningful. And in that space, you begin to understand that change was never about controlling the outside world. It was always about coming back to yourself. What truly matters is not how much the world changed for you, but how deeply you chose to change within yourself. Because real transformation was never about controlling people, fixing situations, or waiting for the perfect moment. It was always about coming back to your own power, your own awareness, and your own ability to choose love over fear again and again. Every experience you've had, every moment of pain, confusion, or doubt was not there to break you, but to guide you back to yourself, to show you where you disconnected, where you stopped believing in your worth, and where you forgot that everything you've been searching for already exists inside you. And the moment you begin to take responsibility, not as a burden but as your ability to respond with awareness, everything shifts. Instead of criticizing yourself, you learn to support yourself. Instead of tearing yourself down, you begin to build yourself up with your thoughts, your beliefs, and your choices. And as you slowly step into that space of self-acceptance, something powerful happens. You no longer chase love because you become it. You no longer depend on others to validate you because you recognize your own value. And from that place, the way you see the world changes. You begin to understand others with more compassion, realizing that pain often creates pain, and that healing must begin within each individual. You stop feeding division, anger, and blame, and instead become a source of calm, clarity, and presence. And this is how real change spreads, not through force, but through awareness, not through control, but through inner alignment. Because every thought you think, every belief you hold, and every emotion you nurture contributes not only to your life, but to the world around you. And when enough people begin to choose love within themselves, the world naturally begins to reflect that same energy. In the end, when everything else fades away, it won't be your achievements, your possessions, or your status that define you. It will be your capacity to love. That is what remains. That is what you carry with you. So the question is not whether change is possible. The question is whether you are willing to choose it, to practice it, and to live it every single day. Because the power has always been yours, and it always will be.